It was about learning the foreign language and being able to communicate in foreign language. My life, the past 20 years, which is half of my life, was about the foreign language. Focus on that and get 80% of all the results you could possibly get. So what you don't want to do is the way typical school teach you a language, the Spanish language, is completely against this maintain continuous actions that you need for your success. Like I said, this is about letting your brain start processing. Actually, that is the story. Because you become the main character of that story. You realize all the language institutions follow this system, most powerful way. But if you have some intention, then you can identify easier. For example, doctors, but if you identify that opportunity and have these in place, you can really study and practice. Now, tip one about the dictionary research. Number one, tip one is when you look up, it's super important. Relate back to the first section that we talked about, the mindset and the feelings that I got from those movies teach you some technical things too as well, not just mindset. So when you find Spanish-speaking people and you want to just practice with them, the rule number one is to the person you want to practice with, it's a give and take. You give first. What do you give? It's not money. With the attitude that you are entitled to speak English, not speaking Spanish. And do you know what it does? Because the thought is directly 100% again. There is no looseness connected to your feelings. You will feel great all the time. Appears depends on your perspective or how you look at the thing. It appears negative. Always the same consequences always can be looked at the positive way or negative way. Mindset preparation, which is mental, like, you know, how you condition your mental in order to be most effectively, efficiently to learn the Spanish language as quickly as possible. And we're going to talk about what to focus in the beginning. Like in the beginning stage, what to focus, what you're going to put your entire energy into is crucial. If you choose the wrong thing, it's gonna delay the entire process, elongate the entire process for you to acquire the skill and master it. And so we're gonna talk about what to focus, especially in the beginning. And also we're gonna discuss about how to implement daily practices, which is practical part. Because let's face it, in order to learn any language, definitely we cannot miss daily practices. If we don't practice, we're not gonna get it. And this is something that I learned in the hard way, and I'm gonna talk about that shortly. So my name is Ryota Iwai. I speak to 3 languages, Japanese, English, and Spanish. But I'm not a linguistic genius. Actually, I had struggled to learn English as a second language for a long time. I wanted to come to the United States and then do the study abroad. Basically, I wanted to, make my dream come true. And I had a really good reason. Yet, I had to struggle because I had a weakness in my mind and really didn't go into practice at the full scale because I was shy. I was shy boy. I was shy person, and I was full of fear of failure, meaning I didn't want to make a mistake. But you have to go into practice to make a mistake so that you can correct. Actually, you can expand your mind, basically. If you don't do that, basically, you cannot really build upon what you learn. And so that's a key important thing. And, you know, at that time, I was super shy and I didn't want to make a mistake. And I believed that I could just study and acquire the language skill. But without practicing, using it, no one can acquire the skill. So don't make the same mistake I did. And that's why we're going to talk about that and how you can implement the practice. Because let's face it, every day things happen and we are filled with activities that we are scheduled to do and obligated to do. So how we can find time to study and practice. So who is this workshop for? This workshop is for people who strongly desire to be able to acquire Spanish skill, who wants to promote their lives, whether it's professional careers or personal relationship or cultural experience, right? And who are eager to go out and apply and practice what you learn in this workshop. No matter how good the content that you learn is, if you don't apply into the real practice, no one can get anything. So let's dive into the first thing, mental roadmap. And I want to talk about the roadmaps, because the roadmap is something that you need to really go through this journey of learning the Spanish language, because the roadmap will show you all the obstacles and the hurdles on the way as you go, and it will show you how to overcome that obstacles. And a lot of time, so I can show you the roadmap basically, and I'm going to show you right here today because I have experience, right? You need a guide. If you are climbing the Mount Everest, then you need a guide who has done before, so he knows all the paths that we need to take so we don't get lost. And so the mindset is the basically dividing roads almost. You come to the point, the road you are going is going to the two-way, one way and the other way. And to have the right mindset is going to the right one way. And not to have the right mindset is going to the other way. That is so important. That important mindset is. So basically, if you don't have the right mindset, no matter what hard you study, or no matter how good teacher you have, it's not gonna do good for you. So this is super important. So very focus and very listen carefully. So we can learn a new language at any time of our lives. This is the statement of the Spanish exponential. And this is something that I realized because I really, like my history was I grew up in Japanese family, in Japanese community. So until I was 20 years old, actually 21 years old, I was completely in the Japanese speaking community. But at that time, I really wanted to come out to the United States and then studied in order to really become the person and have a profession that I really desired. And so that's what I did. I came to the United States, but I was actually devastated once I came. In Japanese education system, they have a language education of English, and it's mandatory, and many years we have to take classes. But it was taught by Japanese teacher, and it's all about grammars and vocabularies and reading. So when I came to the United States, I couldn't speak. I couldn't listen what they were saying, and I couldn't communicate. And I have struggle, and the struggle came from my personality as well. I was kind of introverted person. And I was really shy, and then I didn't want to make a mistake. So that's the mindset that you don't want to have, actually. So let's talk about children versus adults, because a lot of people knows that children will learn their first language 100% of time. I don't believe hearing any one exception. I could be wrong. There might be a special case, but we could firmly said children learn the language for 100% without failure. And we oftentimes believe as we become adult, we cannot learn a new language. It's hard to learn a new language. What is the difference? And a lot of time, people claim actual failures, right? But what is the difference? I almost failed to learn English. But the good news was I came to the United States and I had no way out. I actually luckily chose the city with least Japanese population as well. And I kept moving the city with the fewest, least Japanese population. So that was a good thing. And so I had no way out, but it took a long time. And when I look back, the reason that it took so long to learn English language for me was my mindset wasn't right. So, and let's go back to children versus adult. We basically are same creator, and actually we had more sophisticated, mature brain, which is more suited to learn the language. And why children 100% time have a successful rate, and an adult has more possibility of failure. I think that there comes down to two things, and I've realized the two things. One is children has a flexibility of accepting new ideas. Learning and accepting a different language is completely, it's about accepting completely different ideas. The two languages are different, and the language is deeply related to culture, so it's a whole different culture. And accepting new ideas is hard for adults and easier for children. That's one thing, one of the reasons. But there is no capability. The differences in capability. Both are human beings and both are capable to learn a new language. And the number two thing is I love when I can't remember the thing. The second thing, the first thing was the flexibility of mind, and the second thing is the desire and actually make a connection with what you want and what you have to do. Children does successfully, perfectly do this all the time, because children babies learn quickly that crying out loud isn't good enough to convey what they want from their parents. So they really realize and they focus on what they, speak to you, and then learn from that. And the reason children or babies succeed 100% time is they never give up, because they desire so badly to convey what they want, to get what they want from parents or other adults. They will not give up. Basically, perseverance is super strong. But adults have all kinds of ideas and thoughts, and actually we've oftentimes failed to connect the desire and the dream that they have and make a connection with what you have to do. They fail on that. So they actually cannot focus on what they have to do to get what they want. So subconscious mind and your belief is everything in this mindset and journey. Like, whatever we believe, we can act on it. But if we have a doubt on anything, we cannot act on it, because this is like evolutionary psychology. Like, we are built and designed not to waste any energy on what we don't believe. So it's for survival mechanism. So this is something that we need to understand, and we really, if we want something very badly, then we need to train ourselves to believe, 100% believe that you can get it or that you already have. Then the things is going to be changed significantly. And the language learning is no different. So basically, actually, the subconscious mind is double-edged sword. It's so powerful when you get it right, but it's so dangerous when you have it wrong at the same time. So let me explain why. So if you believe your subconscious mind, okay, let me tell you, subconscious mind doesn't know what is truth and wrong, force or imagination or whatever. Everything that takes in is a reality for subconscious mind. So based on that, subconscious mind create a belief based on whatever it absorbed, and it translates into reality, because subconscious mind will always try to create a reality and try to prove whatever it believes is true. So the subconscious mind directs us to what we believe and to make it reality. So it's so powerful if we believe the positive thing. We can be anything, anybody that we desire to become. But it's so dangerous, because if we believe the negative thing, basically that's gonna be your future. And this is so true. It's not like a theory or anything. This is the way things work. And if we can train our subconscious mind, we can write our own destiny. And that is so true. And this is not just like a cliche or anything. So very mindfully think about this. And how can we train our subconscious mind then? If we need to train our subconscious mind, how can we train? So let's dive into that. So basically, subconscious mind is listening. Remember this, subconscious mind is always listening. Just think about it's different parts of your brain. It's a different animal. It's a different person. You have this person within you, right? It's authentic you, or whatever you can call inner child or whatever. But the subconscious mind is always listening and creating the beliefs. So how you can train your mindset is, there's two aspects: who you are surrounded with, and also what you are telling to yourself. So those two things, in order to train yourself, you have to choose who you are surrounded with. This sounds, for some certain people, tough thing, because like to choose people who you hang out, some people will feel guilty, but it's so much of the big responsibility that you have for yourself and for others as well. Because if you can't take care of yourself, you cannot take care of nobody. So take good care of yourself by choosing where you position yourself. And also be conscious about what you are telling to yourself. The thoughts are flowing naturally, and it's not unstoppable. We can control to stop. But being aware of what we are telling to ourselves, we can change that. So the way to train your mindset is, subconscious mind, is to position yourself. And this is super important. So identify what negative information coming in all the time, from who. And if you identify, try to position yourself so you have a less time to hear those negative things. Potential, possibility, lower the possibility, and that's something that you can control. So that's your responsibility. And you can become anyone. By doing this training, you can become anyone who you want to become. So you have to be the person before you become that person. And this is super important. Basically, you have to believe that you are that person already. You can become, of course, it's important to believe that you can become that person, but you have to be that person mentally right away. That's the way you can move the needle. And so you have to act like one. And I'm gonna tell you how this relates to language learning shortly, but this is super important. It's not just a life lesson. And self-doubt is #1 killer of your dream, because like I said, we are designed and built so that we are not gonna waste any survival energy for what we don't believe. So we physically, mentally can't act on whatever necessary to achieve that goal if we don't believe that we can become that one. So belief is so important. And I am telling you guys this because I've experienced, and especially in the realm of the language, because like I said, I struggled to learn English for years, to be able to communicate for years, many years. Like, it was hard because I had to catch up with the, university classes and assignments, and then, once I start working, and I had to communicate with the coworkers, and I had such a struggle with it. And now I can comfortably speak and convey my idea, and then understand whatever people have to tell me. But it took a long time, and at the same time, I've discovered what I'm talking about to you guys later time when I decided to learn the Spanish language. And I never thought to take on another language because of the struggles, but I decided, and I was so determined, and I knew exactly what I needed to do and how to set my mindset, and I did the trainings every day, so I made it. I really learned the Spanish language very quickly compared to how long it took to learn English. So that's why I am really want to really these things to everybody possible to whom wants to learn the English and the Spanish language. Now, I'm teaching you the Spanish language because I know how I did successfully. So I know I can show you the roadmap, and I know all the obstacles you will come across, and I can show you a way to the goal. Now, the formula of acquiring this language skill is this. So #1, like I was talking about to this point, it's #1 thing is the belief. You have to believe that you are Spanish speaking speaker already. Now you have to act like that. You have to behave like that. Now that will change your mindset, and mindset we were talking about will directly connected to the thoughts that you produce. Seriously, this is 100 connection. There is no looseness. How you have your mindset directly connect to the thoughts. So if you are already right now suffering from a negative thought, your mindset is causing that. So if you change the mindset, you actually can have the great thoughts all the time. And do you know what it does? Because the thought is directly 100% again, there is no looseness connected to your feeling. You will feel great all the time, and never feel like the bad feeling, negative feeling. And do you know what it does? It's the feeling really dictate our actions or non-actions. So everybody knows that in order to have results, you need to take action. But the feeling depends on what kind of feeling you have all the time. You need to take so much effort to take an action versus you don't need effort to take necessary action, series of action. You are naturally taking action if you have a great feeling all the time. And oftentimes people take consequences as a negative word, right? Consequences. That's why you have consequences. Always like associated with the negative. But consequences is basically what comes out from the action. When you take action, like tossing a stone into the body of water, it ripples out, and that's the consequences. But in order to move your life for the better, you need, basically what you need is the consequences. And the consequences depends on your perspective or how you look at the thing. It appears negative. Always the same consequences always can be looked at the positive way or negative way, and depends on how you think, what is your mindset is, you can identify the positive and the consequences and to direct to the greater consequences. So why I came to this conclusion, and I a little bit talked about, but because of those two experiences in past my 20 plus years, it was about learning the foreign language and being able to communicate in foreign language. My life, past 20 years, which is half of my life, was about the foreign language. And I have two distinctively different experiences. One is the struggles and one is the success. And I figured out the difference and I wrote it down. So that's why I am coming to this conclusion and doing this presentation. So the technical roadmap, I talked about technical aspect of what to focus. So it's about what to focus. So there is something called 80-20 rules. It's a economic principle taught by Italian economists, but there is 80-20 rules in Spanish learning, and that's what I figured out. And basically what it says is focus on 20%, only 20% of all the causes or all the things that you can learn. Focus on that and get the 80% of all the results you could possibly get. So what you don't want to do is you focus on the wrong 20%. And that means actually you only can get 5% of all the results you can get. And I want to stress this out in the beginning, because that will expand increase your result and excitement and the actual happiness exponentially. So what to focus? Understanding of how, we need to actually focus on understanding on how our brain works. So the repetition is the matter of all skill and knowledges. So repetition is how our brain works. Now, why is it so important? It's so common sense. Why are you emphasizing this? Because if you understand this, the way typical school teach you a language, the Spanish language, is completely against this understanding. I'm going to explain you why. Let's go back. So a typical language school will create a curriculum to give you information a little by little, really tiny little by little. Do you know why? Because they underestimate what we can do, what we can handle, and they don't want you to get upset. So they want you to feel like you are progressing slowly though, and they want you to stay in their business, right? So, but that is not the best way to do. And other thing is understanding of our psychology. Like a psychology was developed more than 10,000 ago, right? So when we are in Stone Age, our psychology was developed in order to protect us for our survival, for our species preservation. And our emotions are triggered to protect us, so it is very important to understand why we feel a certain way and why we have emotions in certain emotion in certain time. And by understanding this, we can actually avoid negative emotions to lead you to negative feeling in order to maintain continuous actions that you need for your success. So our psychology oftentimes are working against our success and happiness that we need to understand. And now we get into those who crush verbs conquer Spanish. So what to focus? I tell you the verbs. Now, I'm not saying the surface of verbs. We tackle 100% the full extent of verb conjugation and all kinds of things. Why? Why? Because it relates back to understanding how our brain works. So our brain needs repetition for especially things like mathematics or language. And it's not a talent that some people can get it right away. No one get it right away. So why not start the process earlier so our brain, back office of our brain, will process them, and you're gonna have a light bulb turn on sooner or later. If you postpone the start, beginning, that means you are postponing the ending, when the light bulb turns on. So, but of course, if you crash or dump a lot of information into your brain, you're gonna have a negative emotions, right? Because you get frustrated, you get embarrassed, you feel ashamed, you feel powerless. But if you understand our psychology, we can avoid that and keep just understanding what we are doing is basically having our brain work for you in the back end. Basically, you know, somewhere at subconscious level. So, if we understand completely at subconscious level, understand what we are doing, then we're not gonna really be affected by negative emotions. When it start coming, then we tell ourselves, you know what? You don't need to feel guilty. You don't need to feel embarrassed. It's normal not to understand at the beginning, but we are doing this for us to understand sooner than later. So by understanding, we really could avoid negative emotion that could stop all the actions. Now, the verbs are the heart of all sentence. Meaning, in any language, I mean, this is common sense, but I have to emphasize this because without the verb, you don't understand what the all sentence means, right? But at the same time, if you get the verb, you get 80% what the sentence is saying, right? So that's important. So why not to start master the verb in the beginning? That will exponentially shorten the process of your learning. And so the other reason is, especially Spanish, like English and Japanese, you might not need this emphasized focus because they don't conjugate that many forms. So it's really not a lot to recognize for. But the Spanish verb conjugate to more than 100 forms, and it conjugate mostly to the very unique forms. So if you're not familiar with the verb conjugations, then you cannot even identify the verb in the sentence, whether you are listening, practice listening, or practice reading, whatever. You're not going to recognize the verb. And if you can identify verbs, how you can move forward. Now, the verb conjugation is a roadmap. So, like I said, this is about letting your brain start processing it. And so no one understands from the beginning. And you don't actually need to memorize it. You just need to get familiar with a little by little each day. So keep moving. This processing is the key. And you're gonna be amazed how soon you can really understand the entire language you feel like. Now, what to focus? Another thing is power of story. I really want to emphasize the power of story. And what do I mean by that? Basically, language learning, the most powerful language learning method is actually study abroad, right? If you are afford your time, financial wise, then going to the country where people only speak that language is the best way. Why? Actually, that is the story, because you become the main character of that story in the different culture, in a different language. So this is the most powerful way. And the reason a lot of language institute take a role-playing games as part of their curriculum is because of story. Have you be like in certain characters in the role-playing game, what you learn stick a little more better than otherwise. So how to take advantage of it? One of the thing is actually you read the story of your favorite author in Spanish. Now this is a little bit sounds like advanced level practice, but actually I would recommend you to, even you are beginner, you are starting right now, you pick up a book. It's available in Amazon, and it only like costs $10 or less, and trying to start reading it. And then of course, you might not understand from the beginning, but you will. And the great thing about picking your favorite author is you know their language, and reading and hearing the voice of the author in Spanish will make you a better connection. And that's why. And try that, because it is so powerful. Now, practical roadmap. Basically, how you can implement the daily practice without affecting your existing lifestyle. This is the key point. And let me talk about like this. Like, if you have 5-minute study or practice every single day, it is actually more powerful than, let's say, you do 1 hour or 2 hours classes, or that kind of effort once a week, which is more powerful. Actually, 5 minutes every day is much more powerful than 2 hours once a week. So daily practice, integrating the study and practicing into daily life is super powerful. Now, how can we do that? Because we have all extremely busy life, right? How can we identify the time, secure that, and study and practice? The key is integration. Like, we don't try to secure 2 hours and study. That's not the way to do. And do you realize all the language institutions follow this system? They have you commit 1 hour, 2 hours, or even bigger time frame to study language. And this is not very efficient. And so the key is integration. How you can integrate the study and practice in your existing lifestyle and existing activities. Basically, you don't need to change a thing, but you can study and practice. This is the key. Now, I call it 5 minutes in between time. First, you need to identify those, because any of us, like all of us, have those 5 minutes in between time every day, and many of them oftentimes. First, we need to identify. What do you mean by 5 minutes in between time? The 5 minutes or 3 minutes or 2 minutes that you are not producing anything, very unproductive. You are waiting something or waiting somebody, or you are just commuting and just consumed by your random thoughts. Those times you can identify so many, and you can convert them into the opportunity of study and practicing. So first, like I said, we need to identify those times. So as they go by, and actually, if you, for example, I'm going to tell you to have a dictionaries like this, and it's super important. And some people think this is the old way, traditional way. We have new ways, but this is most powerful way. And I'm going to talk about that. But for example, if you carry a book or dictionary, and it's actually turns you to better states to identify those times. If you randomly normally spend your time daily, then it's hard to identify those times. But if you have some intention, then you can identify easier. For example, doctor's office, while we are waiting, typically most people grab the magazine that they provide and read. That's no different than, consumed by random thoughts. They watch the TV that they provide. But if you identify that opportunity and have these in place, you can really study and practice it. If you are sitting into the, Latin looking people, then you can go practice, right? So the identification is the first step, and how you can convert into real practice and study is the key. And the like I said, to better identify, you have to be intentional. So carry one of those. That will help you. And daily practice how to basically keep going. And so I recommend to buy 3 dictionaries. And actually different dictionary by different publisher. And place them, so basically by now, let's say we identify those times, right? And where we most spend, and strategically place each one of them, like one at home, maybe one at work, maybe one in the car, one in the bag that you always carry. Strategically place them. And because if you utilize dictionaries that you carry all the time, your vocabulary will significantly increase. I mean, you'll be amazed, because the truth is, you only need 30 seconds to look up one word. And when you... Actually, it's the best to look up when you wonder about, what do I say this word? Or how do I say this? At that moment, for example, if you're driving, maybe if you stop for 15 seconds to 30 seconds on the side road and look it up, and that makes the most effective. So once you start using the 5 minutes in between time, you were going to actually create the habit of creating those 30 seconds time even. And that wouldn't affect your other life. Typically, it's 30 seconds. Now, tip 1 about the dictionary usage. Number 1, tip 1 is when you look up a word, look and then just check the neighboring words. Basically, you're gonna spend 5-10 extra seconds, and that will exponentially increase 3x the result of a vocabulary increase. So it's no brainer. So basically, look up the words, invest 30 seconds and look it up, and invest another 10 seconds to just check the neighboring words, right? I mean, the words above and below, and look what it says. And that will take maybe 10 seconds, 20 seconds, and then 3x the results. So the tip number 2 is look up this is what tip number 2 is look up the same word. Even you look up a word in the car, when you get to home or office or wherever and pick up a different dictionary, spend 50 seconds to 30 seconds and look it up. It's going to significantly, because different publishers have a different definition for every single word. You're going to deepen your understanding, and the result you experience will really amaze you. Now, that's the same slides. Now, visualization practice. This is super important. relate back to the first section that we talked about, the mindset. I mean, you know, we talked about the belief and desire is super important. You know, we talked about the comparison of children and adults. How we can I really make a connection between what we dream of and what we need to do. If we can actually create a connection, we're gonna be automatic. Basically, we don't need to make an effort. We will naturally make an action what is necessary to get our dreams come true. And this is the most invincible power, because you are literally unstoppable. Now take 5-10 minutes to imagine your dream, happiest place in the details, right? Details. And the key is to feel it. Once you visualize, not just to see, observe, but actually feel it. How you would feel when you are there. And this will help to avoid from the weak mind, basically. And I'm preaching this because I did this, and I'm doing it every day, right? Today, but back then when I was studying Spanish, I imagined my dream. The reason was a girl that I wanted to ask her out, and then eventually marry to her and have the rest of my life with her. And so what I did was, every lunchtime I walk to the nearby park in front of the river, and I imagined the scene like we were walking together on the beach, and in the next moment the children pop up in between us, and so we are walking as a family. And the another scene was so there's a big, you know, little park, but had a big giant ficus tree. So I imagine our wedding ceremony under the big ficus tree, and I imagine in the detail. And if you have a problem at depicting details, you can pick up from actual event that you see, right? No idea is coming from nowhere. So it's okay to copy what you like, right? So, and the other scene was like, I was speaking with her family members at, our townhomes. Somehow I imagined townhomes, and we were doing barbecue, and they don't speak English, but I was communicating fluently in Spanish with them. And the feelings that I got from those imagery pushed me through, right? So this is no joke. This is so important. It takes only 5-10 minutes a day. And so no one learned another language for the sake of having another language. Meaning, you gotta have some benefit, right? You gotta have purpose of why you are learning this language. And you are here already, so you know, or maybe sometimes it gets blinded, but you have the reason. So identify that and visualize what you're going to get by acquiring this language skill, whether it's professional career improvement, or your, dream community, or your dream traveling, or whatever it is. You gotta identify. So if you make a connection between the language acquisition and your dream life at the subconscious level, like I said, you become invisible. Basically, no one can stop. Not yourself can stop, because you are moving automatically for the good results. You're taking all the actions that you thought are hard, effortlessly. So that's the stage that you want to get. Now, no one learned, this is the same side. Okay, so, and the practice counts. Practice counts. Practice counts. Believe me. Not only studying works, okay? So understanding, you might understand, but you're not gonna understand perfectly. That's what I meant. So it's a numbers game. Understand, it's a numbers game. You go out and go to practice, and it's a numbers game. sometimes you get rejection from people who you are trying to practice with. But nothing is personal. Maybe that person was in particular bad negative mood. Something happened to him. It just happened. So nothing is personal. Truly, this is super important to understand. So you can keep going. Now, realize that practicing partner and opportunities are everywhere, especially when we are living in the States, right? So there is no excuse, and especially in this age, right? With all the technology that's available. So how you can act is everything. So now you can easily integrate the practices in your daily life without sacrificing or changing your lifestyle. With this mind shift, with the mindset, right? But I'm gonna teach you some technical things too as well. It's not just mindset. So when you find Spanish speaking people and you want to just practice with them, the rule number one is never ask them to practice with you nor teach you the language unless they are family members or whatever, very close. But even closest people you are, don't ask them to practice with you, right? That's not something that you want to do. Teach you the language. You never ask, because nobody wants to do that as a human being. Nobody wants to do that. The reason is here. Now, we want to focus 50-50 rule. 50% for yourself and 50% for others. 50% for yourself, 50% for others. And this applies to many things in life. So it's a good thing to know. But here as well for language practicing. So now there is a laws of reciprocity biases. And as a human being, we don't want to do things that doesn't benefit yourself as well. We really love to do things that benefits for you and others. Now, how can you bring that state to the person you want to practice with? It's a give and take. You give first. What do you give? It's not money. It's not the gift. Well, it's a sort of gift, but it's gift of experience. So go just right straight into the person and start talking to the person in Spanish. Even you are just started, like, whatever you know, the words you know, just speak to him or her. And have an attitude. This is super important. Maintain attitude that you are entitled to speak Spanish with him or her. Because the worst thing you want to do is being like, showing the attitude of, I'm sorry that I have to speak Spanish, but I'm not good at Spanish, but I am, like that kind of attitude make them uncomfortable. And nobody wants to be uncomfortable. And if you have an attitude that you are entitled, no one gets uncomfortable. So this is super important. And if rejected, move on. Nothing is personal. You remember that? So basically tell what you're doing to every single person that surrounds you. The benefit number one, you won't feel guilty when you said no, when you have to say no, because you gotta study, you gotta work on it. And somebody asks for, go to the bar and drink. That is not the most productive way to spend time. And you make a decision. You can make a decision to go back home and then study. Then you won't feel guilty if you have told that person what you're doing already. That's most powerful benefit that you have. And benefit number 10, actually chances are increased when Spanish speaking people knows you that you're practicing or studying. Then maybe they, oftentimes actually they help you to practice. So the chances will increase. Of course, like I said, you gotta act from yourself. Like you gotta proactive. You gotta be proactive, going from yourself to the other person, with giving them experience. I mean, that's kind of experience, right? Like a foreign speaking language, people come to you and start speaking their language. That's an experience and some people love it. And some people, you make a connection and you want to find that people that connects with you. So I kind of already said that, but you give them an experience. But you start the conversation in Spanish with the attitude that you are entitled to speak in English, not speak in Spanish. Some people will give you back, and some people won't. But find the people who connects to you, right? The connection. So actually, this is something else. So that was today's topic, to cover 3 fundamental foundations that you must know, because these 3, you cannot miss one in order to be successfully learning the Spanish language. So muchas gracias para escucharme.